Today on the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement.
We're going to discuss why many pre-retirees are scared to retire from their jobs.
And on our Coach's Corner, we're going to identify 3 mistakes that could derail your retirement.
And on our Chalk Talk segment today, we're going to go over some specific questions you must answer to have a successful retirement.
So sit back, relax, and learn. The Chad Slagle Show starts now.
I'm Chad Slagle. I believe financial planning is about educating people and empowering them to make better decisions with their hard-earned dollars. Coaching gives me satisfaction from watching a player succeed and get better. You need an experienced team around you. The best coaches have great assistant coaches. I have brought a lot of the techniques and structure I learned from playing and coaching football and apply them to the world of investing. My goal now is to coach as many individuals and families as I can on how to get successfully to and through retirement.
Welcome in to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. I'm Wendy Erickson here with the coach, Chad Slagle. Today on the Clipboard segment, we're going to discuss why many pre-retirees are scared to retire from their jobs.
That's right, Wendy. For many people, retirement is that light at the end of the tunnel, a time when you're looking forward to relaxing and doing whatever you wish to do after decades of hard work. You know, my wife April and I were, of course, now in our late 40s, and half of our children are off to college, and we have a lot of friends who are now already empty nesters. And we're getting close to the time we will have a lot of freedom to do what we want to do. However, we see that many of the people in our lives feel lost after their children leave the home. They don't know what to do with all the time their children's busy schedules used to take up. And for us, having 2 kids out of the house scares us because we miss the chaos and the stress that we're used to. And you know, retirement is a new chapter of life, unlike any you've experienced before. And a lot of people are scared to retire from their jobs because they don't know exactly what their retirement will look like, the unknown. It's common to worry about how much money you will need and where that income will come from once you quit working, and filling out all that time can seem daunting as well. There's 2 things that tie together that you need to know about creating a retirement plan. First of all, you need to figure out what out of retirement that you want. How will you use the money you've worked all your life earning to make that happen? You know, retirement can be a very scary prospect, but it is a lot less stressful if you have a step-by-step plan. So today, we're going to go over the most important questions you need to ask yourself to begin creating that plan after you retire, that plan for retirement. What does that look like? Because when you retire, Wendy, that's 30 to 40 years of time you have to fill, and hopefully you no longer have a job to do that.
You know, it's interesting. My husband and I are a few steps ahead of you. Okay, we're handling the empty nester thing just fine, but we both still work. We both still have paychecks coming in, and then we have a budget on what's going out. But I understand that fear of when that goes away, when that plan goes away, and you are retired, having a little bit of a fear of the unknown. I think a lot of us can relate to the fear of the unknown. So what usually helps me is having a little knowledge, doing a little research.
Having a knowledge, you have to think about after retirement, what are you going to do to get you out of bed? What are you going to do to keep you busy? And then the other thing you have to overcome is, I've been working since I'm 18, 22 years of age, whatever age you started working, some people 12 or 16. And you have to think about when I'm 55, when I'm 65, and I retire, how am I going to live each and every month without a paycheck coming in? And that is by building that game plan so you can be successful in retirement. Not only personally, your hobbies and what you're going to do to keep you busy to get you out of bed, but where's that income going to come from as well?
Now, there is a small percentage of viewers out there going, I'll be fine, I'm just going to wing it. But this show is for the rest of us.
When it comes to retirement, you can't wing it.
I know. All right, well, when we return on the Coach's Corner, we are going to identify 3 mistakes that could derail your retirement. Stay with us.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations, so call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We are back with the coach, Chad Slagle, and his colleague, Chad Tobin. And today on the Coach's Corner, we're going to identify 3 mistakes that could derail your retirement.
For most of us, retirement falls somewhere between the dream of an endless vacation and the nightmare of not having enough wealth or good health to enjoy it. How much you're looking forward to it really depends on how much you are prepared for it. And to prepare for retirement, you must create a solid game plan and avoid costly mistakes along the way that could, unfortunately, Chad, blow up that retirement dream.
Well, and naturally, as you mentioned earlier, I mean, retirement for most people is that light at the end of the tunnel. However, if you make too many mistakes leading up to this, it's something that retirees go into extremely afraid of, and just it could kind of blow your retirement up as well.
Well, as a pre-retiree myself, I would prefer the dream mentality and looking forward to it and not worrying about it. So what is
stress-free, right?
Stress-free. It sounds wonderful. What is the first mistake to avoid?
So one way how to avoid this stress, retirement today is unlike it was for past generations. The rules are vastly different from the days of our parents and grandparents. The normal path to retirement used to include a steady pension from the employer, a stable Social Security check from the government, and maybe a little bit of savings along the way. Today, though, the majority of people today, of course, retire without a pension. And this is causing all of you, pre-retirees and retirees, to have the burden placed all on your shoulders. You are now responsible to create an income stream that lasts throughout the rest of your life. It doesn't matter if you live to be 65, 75, or 105, no matter how long you or your spouse live. So retirement planning today is much different going into retirement today with no game plan. And of course, Chad, if you don't have that plan, as we talk about every week on the show, that could be disastrous.
Well, and absolutely. I think when you think about it, most people, most retirees have been used to investing all of their money in what we call the risk, or taking risk, or in the stock market with the majority of their money. And that's because they're leaving their working years. They've been in those accumulation years for the last 20, 30, 40 years. They're used to wanting their money to add to and grow. Now, all of a sudden, as you get into retirement, your mind has to think differently about your money, and you have to invest differently when it comes to your money to get you through your retirement years.
No doubt retirees have more pressure and responsibility than ever before, so you want to have a game plan.
No question. The days of your employer or the government taking care of you are gone. After experiencing years of strong investment returns, a lot of you may be getting too comfortable with the stock market as you get closer to retirement. And this is not the time to have overconfidence in the stock market. We meet with a lot of people day in and day out who are completely naked in the stock market with all of their life savings. They have no stop loss, no covered calls, no hedge funds, nothing. Why? Because they have let themselves exposed and vulnerable in this way because, Chad, they got too confident with the market. Because they sat down with an advisor who has no clue about preservation, and that advisor only focuses on growth of your money, which is important. The problem is, though, they are putting too much of your hard-earned dollars into the market and putting your retirement at risk. And at this stage of the game, there's no reason to risk that nest egg once you've accumulated it.
Well, and to keep it simple, when you think about it, the old retirement, you retired with a pension, you retired, you knew Social Security was coming in, so that what we call that secure bucket, that income that's going to last regardless of how long you live, was already solved for you. Now what we see, most people are retiring with the majority of their money at risk in the stock market, and without pensions. This is going to be, is going to be a tough retirement to go through as these markets go up and down for your income needs.
All right, so relying on the market is a mistake. What about the third mistake?
Well, the third mistake, of course, is trusting the 4% rule. It's often recommended. It is a often recommended strategy of pulling money from retirement portfolios. This strategy was created by a financial advisor, William Bengen, in the 1990s. As Chad mentioned, the old rules. This was the 1990s that a lot of financial professionals still go by. And it says retirees can withdraw 4% of their total portfolio in the first year of retirement. And that dollar amount stays the same each year and rises only with the annual inflation rate. This approach carries risk of running out of money within 30 years of retirement. It's impossible to predict how well the stock market will or won't do, and inflation must be considered, especially now. It's a 40-year high of 7.5%. For some people, 4% may be too conservative, and for others, it may be unrealistically high. The 4% rule can definitely get things started, but it's not cookie cutter, and it's not the end-all solution. As I just mentioned there, Chad, the 1990s. We see a lot of financial advisors and so-called experts today going by rules of 20, 30, 40 years ago, and the thing is, after this pandemic, we're in a completely different economic environment going forward than we were 10, 20, 30, or even 40 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely right. And there's been, reports showing how this 4% rule that worked, 20, 30, 40 years ago does not work or has failed moving forward. So I think it's really that number, that withdrawal rate is different for everybody. But if you have a game plan and you understand what your secure bucket, risk bucket, and dream bucket is set up and understand you've got those taken care of, that income is going to come in regardless of how long you live.
As well as, Chad, is making sure you have all the vehicles, because 20, 30 years ago, some of the vehicles you have today, we didn't have 20, 30 years ago. So you have to make sure that you have the whole financial universe at your fingertips to do what's best for you going forward.
So a lot of variables in this. I like what you said, not cookie cutter, at least for the 4% rule. So
Exactly.
Just do your research. So I know people out there have questions. How can they get a hold of you, Chad?
Well, the best way to get a hold of us would be to call our office at 888-294-9248 to either have a complimentary consult or, if nothing else, just to answer your questions.
So you can have a plan that works for your retirement.
Absolutely.
All right, stay with us. We will be right back.
Let's go.
He's such an involved dad. He's always telling the kids stories. I remember when so-and-so said I couldn't do this, or I didn't make this team. That's what drives him. In our family, we always tell our kids to stick up for each other, stand behind one another. He feels it's his role to provide, keep us safe, and to make sure that the kids are taken care of. A lot of Chad's clients have the same traditional values, and he bonds with them. Each family has a different set of circumstances, and each family is unique and different. The common thread between all of Chad's clients is that they want the best for their family, just as he would our own family.
Welcome back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. So we just discussed 3 mistakes that could derail your retirement. Now we're going to go over some specific questions you must answer to have a successful retirement.
You know, when you sit down today to create a retirement plan, you have to begin by asking yourself a lot of questions to educate yourself, and most of those have to do with numbers. And a number of questions you might want to ask yourself is, at what age will you stop working full time? How long of a retirement should you plan for? How long do you plan to live? We don't know, right? It's an unknown. What do the current interest rates mean to your future income? Can you count on reasonable income from your portfolio, from your stocks and mutual funds? What percentage of your income should be guaranteed through Social Security, pensions, and maybe some annuities? So these are all things, Chad, again, when it comes to planning for retirement, there's a lot of homework, if you will, that you really need, questions you need to ask yourself and to be able to answer those questions so you can be educated, so you can start building that plan for retirement.
Yeah, and I kind of think back to, some of our clients, just the ones that, we started working together maybe 3-5 years before they retired. And, we're having those conversations. They're almost like planning for a vacation, but they're planning for 20, 30 years, and the most important part is what are they going to do? What's that first 5 to 10 years of retirement look like? And then they have that peace of mind at retirement because they've made that plan.
And I would tell you, Chad, they're also some of the most successful retirees we see out there today because they did start planning 3, 5 years before. Again, though, if you're retired or if you've been retired for 3 to 5 years, it's never too late to start planning and start asking yourself these questions and getting your retirement on the path that it should be.
All right, so let's talk about those questions. What's a good first question to ask yourself?
Well, number one, you have to think about, have you ever taken time to sit down and ask yourself what you truly want retirement to look like day to day? Our happiest clients, as we've talked about, have a clear vision of what they want in retirement. Some wish to travel, others play golf or fish or hunt. The point is, they know what they want their lives to look like, and they are excited to make that happen. In order to achieve your goal of retiring to that new life, obviously, you have to figure out how much it's going to cost to pursue those hobbies and perform those activities. And you really have to think about what kind of lifestyle do you want to have when you retire.
Yeah, and we often talk about many people, my father being one, worked for 40 years and every day he went to that job to get to retirement. And they're so focused to get to retirement, they're really not thinking about what retirement's going to look like after they retire. So, we see this all the time with many retirees, but you really have to do this and think to yourself what retirement is going to look like after retirement so you can plan and make it happen.
All right, well, what's another good question to ask
So
yourself?
as Chad just mentioned then, when will I retire? When do you want to retire? At age 65 has long been considered a typical retirement age, in part because of rules around Social Security benefits and health insurance. And as people have started living longer, this age has increased. The question of when to retire is another question that is a big numbers game. At age 59 and a half, you can take an in-service withdrawal. At 63, come Roth conversion, 65 Medicare, 67 Social Security age, and 70 charitable distributions. You must decide how these numbers will affect you specifically to decide the age that is right for you. By reviewing, number one, your personal situation. A financial professional can help you set and work toward a target at retirement age once you have an idea, Chad, of what these numbers look like for you and what you want to accomplish, and as we talked earlier, about what kind of lifestyle do you want to have in retirement.
Yeah, and I think everybody's going to be different, obviously, but knowing some of these target dates or birthdays for you leading up to retirement is going to be huge in understanding when can I nail that date down for retirement, because if we've done the planning properly, nailing that date down is going to be possible.
And the thing we tell our clients all the time, Wendy, spend this money. You can't take it with you. If you can retire at 62 as opposed to waiting till 65, if you have a plan in place, then go ahead and do it. That's why when we start working at 12, 16, or 18 years of age, our goal is to have income in so we can live. Once you have that nest egg built up to be able to have the lifestyle that you want in retirement, pull the trigger, retire, enjoy it, because you can't take it with you.
I would imagine, too, some people set their age, but then things change and they have to change that as well.
Well, absolutely. Life happens, but it's always good to have a plan and also be flexible with that plan.
Right, all right. Well, there is one more question that you recommend people ask themselves when they're going to retire.
The big one, if you're going to have the lifestyle, you're going to have fun, how much money do you have to have coming in? So where is your income coming from? For many people, retirement income comes from a variety of sources. The places we see most often are investments and savings, retirement accounts such as 401ks, TSPs, and other qualified accounts, and of course, Social Security. The trick is taking that money from all of these sources and combining it into one income stream that you can never, ever outlive, Chad. And this is the big unknown that we talked about earlier. Are you going to live to be 75, 85, or 105? You don't know. That's why you want to make sure you have that income stream coming in that's going to come in the rest of your life and the rest of your spouse's life, no matter how long either one of you live.
Well, and it sounds pretty challenging to kind of be able to take all of these different investments and different things you have and put it in one plan. But to keep it very simple, you think about that secure world, that secure bucket. Put enough money in that secure bucket to make sure you have that pension, and along with Social Security, that income is going to last throughout the rest of your life and your spouse's. Then once you have that set up, you can now go into that growth bucket. Try to beat the rate of inflation and get some long-term gains in that growth world, but also that dream bucket or legacy bucket to make sure you fill. So when you do walk out on life, you've either taken care of healthcare expenses or you're able to pass money on tax-free to your beneficiaries and your loved ones.
So that's a 30,000-foot view, Wendy, of how how you, the secure bucket, the growth bucket, and that dream bucket, that extra bucket. Then once you get that set up, then you can look at the different vehicles that'll kind of filter out that and what that looks like. And that's really how you start building that plan for retirement. The problem is, though, today, more people spend time planning for a vacation than they do for retirement, and you don't want to fall in that trap.
All right, well, you've given us some good questions to get us all started. And in order for those of you watching out there to make sure your retirement is on the right path, Slagle Financial has educational events coming up in your area. To sign up for one of these events, call the number below, 888-294-9248. When we come back on the strategy play, the Chads are going to show you an example of the 4% rule of thumb and how to address problems that could arise with it. We'll be right back.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your monies than it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations, so call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement. Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. On this week's strategy play, we're going to show you why we do not recommend solely following that 4% rule of thumb. And a big reason, Chad, is because, again, as we talked about earlier, that came out in the 1990s. Today, 20, 30 years later, number one, the markets perform differently than they did 20 to 30 years ago. Number two, we're in a completely different economic environment than we were just 5 or 10 years ago. And Chad, there's a lot of vehicles out there that were not around 20 to 30 years ago.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about, the old school rule of thumb or the old school way of planning, we talk about that 4% rule. And naturally, way back then, we talked people were retiring with pensions, they had Social Security, so what we call that secure bucket was kind of already full, but now is not the case. So we have to take a look at how that 4% rule works now if you continue to do the same thing that you would have done 30 years ago.
And you have to think about how, your money's invested today. Again, the old rule of thumb, you have to have it equities and bonds. Equities go down, bonds come up. Of course, that teeter-totter is completely gone today. And that's why we see the 4% rule is not really a cure-all for everyone. It depends on your financial situations and your lifestyle. So what you have to think about, let's take a look here. So let's say you have $1.5 million in your nest egg. You've built up a nice nest egg, and you need $60,000 a year to live off of. So that 4% rule goes into effect. The problem, though, Chad, if the market has just a 20 or even a 30% correction in the next year or two, after you retire, now your nest egg is no longer $1.5 million. Now it's only a little over $1 million. So to get that same $60,000 that you've adjusted your lifestyle to in retirement, now you have to draw out 6% just to get that same amount of income.
And a lot of times, we talk about it's so important to understand, where is that income coming from? And if you're depending on the stock market, if you still have the majority of your money all in the market, this is the kind of income plan you're going to live through in retirement. And so, this is kind of where people get scared. So understanding, what the income you need and being able to build a plan so that you know where the income's coming from and how long that money is truly going to last.
So then what you have to think about, Chad, is what we talk about all the time with our clients is, number one, you want to make sure you develop a written income plan, a written retirement plan for you and your family. So you know, number one, doesn't matter what happens in the market, doesn't matter what happens with interest rates, doesn't matter how long you live, you know your money will come in each and every month for the rest of your life and the rest of your spouse's life. And of course, number two, Chad, which is so important, you need to know the risk you're taking. You want to be proactive with the game plan that you're building and understand that the market is going to have corrections. We're going to have times when it's down 20 to 30% and it may be up 20 to 30%. So you want to be proactive and not reacting to what happens in the market.
Well, and as we talked about earlier in the show, as you're working and you're in that accumulation mode, it's okay to take on that amount of risk. And a lot of times we don't even look at the amount of risk we're taking when we're still trying to grow our money. But now that you're getting close to retire or already retired, risk is a huge thing. You have to understand how comfortable you are with the risk you're taking.
Do you know the risk you are taking? Do you need help developing an income plan for retirement? If so, I encourage you to give us a call today, and that's this week's Strategy Play.
To get more detailed information on these strategies and how they can work for you, call the team at Slagle Financial now to schedule your 5-point inspection. The number, 888-294-9248. And we will be right back with some of the key takeaways from today's show.
I'm your host, the coach, Chad Slagle, and joining
I'll be with you guys in just a few minutes.
When it comes to your health, your life, your family, your home, and your hard-earned dollars, of course you want to make sure you're working with that sharp, energetic, knowledgeable individual that is always looking out for your best interest.
Such short notice. Appreciate it. Thanks.
It's time to get your financial house in order. This is the new age of retirement planning. In the Wall Street world, that's what they talk about. You got to have
Back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through
We
retirement.
are Slagle Financial. Call now, 888-294-9248.
Welcome back once again to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We've covered a lot today. What would you say, Chad, are some of the key takeaways?
Number one, identify your perfect retirement. You must plan for your financial future and your lifestyle in retirement to create a solid plan. Number two, create a game plan to support your ideal lifestyle. Once you know what you want out of retirement, put a game plan together that shows you exactly how you will accomplish your retirement goals. And number three, know your risk number. Figure out how much you're comfortable losing in the next market downturn and invest accordingly. Be proactive, not reactive.
Good information. Well, Slagle Financial and their team of advisors have educational events coming up in your area to make sure you are prepared for today's retirement. To sign up for one of these events or to schedule a meeting with Slagle Financial's team of advisors, call 888-294-9248.
Remember, folks, success is waking up in the morning, whoever you are, wherever you are, no matter how old or young you are, and bounding out of bed because there's something out there that you love to do, that you believe in, that you're good at, and you can hardly wait to get at it again today. At Slagle Financial, realize that this is bigger than our team. It's about educating you, the public, and our wonderful clients, and empowering you to make better decisions with your hard-earned dollars. For my co-host Wendy Erickson, my colleague Chad Tobin, this is the coach, Chad Slagle. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to visiting with each and every one of you next week.